And with us right now, we've got Peter Klamka. Peter, you are the owner of the Blind Pig restaurant in Las Vegas, and you're the founder of Cordia Kitchens. And we're going to talk about the restaurant industry and how you are a part of, as Wayne Gretzky would say, skating to where the puck will be. I mean, the puck's already on its way there, and you're taking advantage of trends. This is going to be a fascinating conversation because I'm really excited to see where we go over the next 5 to 10 years in the restaurant industry, because you know better than I do, the restaurant industry is evolving quite a bit and quite quickly too.
It's changing very rapidly. We're sort of, I think, at the early stages of what I would call restaurant apocalypse.
Oh,
that Amazon is taking away the malls.
Yep.
You're seeing the delivery services cause restaurants to adapt and change. The customer doesn't want to come inside. They want it dropped off on their couch.
What? Yeah, explain a little bit more about what's going on with consumers.
So consumers are looking for convenience. And there's two groups. I think the younger generation, anybody under 40, they want to stay home, stream Netflix, play video games, and hang out with their friends. There's no interest in going to the restaurant anymore. There's no interest in hanging out at a restaurant. Older people, 40 and up, they're just too tired. They've got obligations and it's too easy. Open up the phone and there's the menu and order it. And in 30 to 40 minutes, someone's going to drop off a bag with hamburgers in it.
All right. So
that's the change.
What are smart restaurateurs doing about this?
So if you can sell your restaurant, you sell it quickly. If you can't sell your restaurant, you have to adapt. And the way to adapt is to incorporate delivery and incorporate convenience into your customers, and understand that your customers aren't necessarily walking in the front door anymore and staying for 30, 40, an hour at a time and ordering. They're ordering at home, and they want you, the restaurant quality food, brought to their living room, their TV room, or the kitchen. And that's what you're doing now as a restaurateur.
It's interesting, and you're absolutely right. Like, all three of my kids, so they're 20, 16, and 14, and they don't like going to restaurants. They'd rather just do stuff, do whatever they're doing. And, my youngest, in fact, so he's 14, and he had helped out with, so we had all kind of like cleaned out the garage. It was a big job. It was like 3 hours long, and say, okay, great. We'll take you guys anywhere you want to eat. And my youngest, and both my younger two were like, I don't want to go anywhere and eat.
Right.
But we said, well, how about we have, he said, well, I want Uber Eats to bring me Chipotle. Yep. Like, you don't want to go to Chipotle? He's like, no, I want to stay here. I'm like, I want to do my stuff. And so that was like his greatest thrill. So sure enough, big boy gets to order his own Uber Eats, it's the greatest thing. And I'm like, to me, it's like, I don't know, it's that special, but okay, if you really like it, that's cool.
Whole generation is out there with their smartphones thinking that that's where food comes from. It comes from the app, not from the restaurant, not from the waiter.
So talk to me about Cordia and the concept of ghost kitchens.
So owning a restaurant literally in the shadow of the Las Vegas Strip, across the street from the Aria, across the street from the Bellagio, and we service tourists, business people, and locals. And we were noticing, especially on weekends, that customers were ordering more. Some of it was our same customers, some of it were people experimenting, and some of it was just a combination. And so we were saying, okay, there's definitely an interest in this delivery concept. Some people had never heard of the restaurant, but we were just the closest ones to their hotel and could deliver it quicker, right? It was convenience. It was, oh, I'm starving because I flew in last night or overnight and I just want my food now. I don't even want to wait for room service. And, my background, I had done a number of branding, celebrity licensing deals. And lots of people want to open a restaurant. Some people have no background, decide to buy a restaurant. And with that, you get all of the difficulty of the build out, the fixtures, the labor, the glasses, all of that, right? Now, in the current world, just like you don't need to buy a medallion in New York City to become a taxi driver anymore, you can open your own restaurant. You could have Josh's restaurant tomorrow for less than $50,000 using infrastructure we provide. I have staff, I have chefs, I have all of the supplier relationships. Come in with your recipes, sign up with Uber Eats, promote to your audience and your following. You are now in the restaurant business.
Wow. Okay. Again, let me just, because you went through that so quickly, just what this model is and how powerful this concept is. If your dream is to open a restaurant and you want to get in so you can get on everybody's phones and say, I am, this is the Josh Elledge restaurant, and I do like, I am a connoisseur of fine oatmeals or whatever it is, right? And I can go into your kitchen and basically operate from there and be listed, indexed in the Uber Eats and the Grubhubs and all these other ones, right? And someone could say, wow, that sounds cool. Click order and bam, is it kind of like like a co-working space almost, or how does that work?
So there's a couple of ways to do it, but yes, there's a co-working space.
Wow.
You can just rent the space and look, we've had famous chefs come and say, hey, I want to break into the Las Vegas market. And it's $3 to $5 million and a waiting list to open up a restaurant in Las Vegas. Yeah. You can take your chef, your recipes, you can take your brand and your followers, and you're a lot better off spending the money on advertising than you are on tables, chairs, and high rent. I mean, wow. It protects your downside. If it doesn't work, your downside's minimal compared to, I personally guaranteed a lease in a high rent district.
No kidding. Especially when we consider where trends are anyway.
Sure.
Especially if you're, you have a son, and he, you were telling me a story before this about, how he was at practice, right? UNLV.
Sure. Didn't like the food that they were serving at sports camp, and so he ordered his own food there using Uber Eats.
So this is really exciting, and I think for someone who wants to be a part of a trend, what a great way to share the risk and co-lease a space, or again, kind of this co-working space as opposed to, or the risk of starting their own kitchen. So you still have to buy all the stuff, all the back end stuff, all the kitchen stuff. You don't even have to do that. You can just share the concept.
We cut the time off for licensing. We already have the restaurant license. We already have the food service license. So you're not dealing with the health department that can take you for 6 months to get a license in certain markets. And the other side of the coin is, if you're successful, it's easier to have a brick and mortar relationship, because I've sold 200,000 hamburgers in the past month on an app-based service. I have a database now. I have an email list. I've given my people coupons or a website or an Instagram, and you can take your customers that you've developed from the virtual world and go open your dream restaurant if that's truly what you want. You test the dream before you test the bank account.
Explain to me then, so you're doing this and you're currently operating this out of Vegas. Is that
Vegas and soon Los Angeles?
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you're in Vegas or Los Angeles, you got a hookup here.
Yes, that's true. And we'll do deals where if the brand is strong enough, we'll partner with you. If it's interesting or entrepreneurial, we could work out a favorable rent until you get started, right? So it's very early days. It's 1996 in the internet time for this, knowing that there's a huge shift coming. People are going to keep eating, right? They're not going to stop eating.
That's right, yeah.
And they're going to keep looking for more conveniences. And if you have a great idea and you have a brand or you have a following or you have something that this is your passion, this is a way to go to test it and to see if, hey, this is for me.
And Peter, how are you marketing this idea to potential restaurateurs?
So it's actually come organically. So we have certain relationships already with brands to develop restaurants that we're working on. Word of mouth, hey, there's a pizza parlor that we know that's got too much business on Friday and Saturdays, and it affects the counter business. It affects their inside business. Here's the other thing. You don't really know where your food is coming from. So it's like, oh, that place is on Main Street, but really the ghost kitchen is 3 blocks away and it doesn't really matter. Same recipes. In some cases, it's the same people that are preparing it, that prepare it in the brick and mortar. And if you want, it's the same packaging. I think packaging is where it's easy to differentiate. Packaging is where it's easy to, to stand out. And especially for a startup or an entrepreneur or someone like that, because that's going to sit in the kitchen for a while. If there's leftovers, it's going to sit in the refrigerator.
Sure. Right.
So,
and then if someone does this, like they don't need to, I mean, it's the drivers they're all app based on existing networks, right? You don't even have to mess with getting your own drivers or any of that stuff.
Truly, you don't have to, there's no messing with drivers. There's no hiring anybody. You can do it with your mom. I mean, it literally is the situation where, and if it works, right? If it works, you can scale and take it to other cities. If it doesn't work, you're not bankrupt.
Is there a way to gauge whether or not this could be successful based on what you currently see in Grubhub and Uber Eats and anybody else out there?
So there's a way to get the data to know, okay, oatmeal is really popular in Des Moines, Iowa, or sausage is really popular in Detroit, Michigan, right? So there's a way to get data to help craft your menu.
Yeah.
And then, like anything now, it's about developing your own audience. Go find your own audience, go develop it, whether it's flyers in a parking lot, cute TikTok videos, coupons, and out of that, you can build a base of business to see, wow, people do love my oatmeal. Wow, people love my sausages.
Oh my gosh.
And scale your business.
So listen, someone in East Orlando who's listening to this right now, get connected here with Peter and convince him to open a location in Orlando. And what I want you to do is open up a keto friendly menu where you have keto versions of everything else. Cause that's, people who follow that, which I do fairly religiously, you got to make everything from scratch. And sometimes, or if you go out to eat, again, you're pretty limited on what you can have. And so it's really nice to have, oh my gosh, that would be a dream come true. And I could order that on the app. Okay. I just gave $1 million idea to somebody. Right?
Yeah, no, so specialized diet is something that we've explored. Kosher, diabetes, things like that, where it has to come from a certain kitchen or be prepared a certain way. There's a little bit more risk and possible expenses, but it's the great affinity marketing, right? Because there aren't any of these currently. And if you go, you can really come down to, oh, this is the population. We know that this is the amount of keto lovers that you have in this particular city. And you can test out the menu. Again, you can do it fairly inexpensively thanks to the app now. And I don't have to say, get out of your car and come in my restaurant. I'll take it to your house.
Yeah. So Peter, how'd you get into this?
So I got into it. I like many, decided, oh, I can run a restaurant. Oh, I'm smart enough because I've been ordering at restaurants for 40 years. I certainly know how to. I'm very handy with the grill in the backyard on the 4th of July. So definitely I should open up a restaurant in the middle of Las Vegas.
Right.
So it was a career change. I came from a financial services background in New York City, changed pace, bought this restaurant thinking it's really an easy business. And I'll open up a couple of locations around Las Vegas and I'll franchise it or take it public or do something like that. Restaurants are very, very difficult. Just because you've been successful in another business doesn't mean you can be successful in the restaurant business. So I bought it.
What's the attrition rate for like an independent restaurant? It's really high.
I think it's like 85 or 90%.
Wow.
Most of it's location, right? It's most of its location. You can't fix a bad location. And I lucked out in my location. It was right place, right time. But I know, I've known 10 people that have started or bought restaurants in bad locations that are gone in the 3 years I've been in the business.
Yeah. Amazing.
Can't fix it. And just everyone wants, they think it's so easy and fun. And it's difficult and challenging, and the stories, the restaurant stories are a nightmare sometimes.
Yeah.
But I looked at, okay, what's my asset? My asset is I have this overly large commercial kitchen. I have proximity to a large population center, and I have a certain level of expertise in food preparation, a barrier to entry as a license, and in my case, a favorable long-term lease. So how do I maximize what I have, given that people aren't coming in to sit down for a long time? So how do I maximize that? And I just looked out the front door, and there were 3 Uber Eats drivers there to pick up food that day. And I said, what if there were 10, or what if there were 20? And then that's my database, right? That's my database of, if you give them good food, if you give them something in the bag, like a 10% coupon or something like that, people love those little things. Oh, yeah. And that's how you build the business. So really, I was just trying to get additional value out of the asset that I already had.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Peter Klamka, you're the owner of the Blind Pig restaurant right there in Las Vegas, right next to the Aria and the Bellagio, right in there. And then you're the founder of Cordia Kitchens, and the next evolution of the restaurant industry. Really exciting. So folks can find you if you go to Cordia Kitchens. Let me spell that. It's CORDIA kitchens.com. And Peter, they can connect with you and your team. And this is going to be really fun to watch what happens over the next 5 years with this model. You got me convinced. This is really exciting.
Thank you.